Good morning. Day 2 here, Friday, at the San Francisco Running Company. I'm Dylan Bowman with I Run Far.
And I'm Megan Hicks of I Run Far here, and we are with Zach Miller, the North Face Endurance Challenge 50 Mile Championships defending champion. Good morning.
Good morning, Megan. Good morning, Dylan.
Good morning. Welcome back. Good to have you.
Thanks. It's good to be here. Good to be back in the Bay Area.
3 years in a row. You keep coming back.
Yeah, I guess I like this race.
So yeah, you're the defending champion, like we just mentioned. You had another sort of 11th place finish 2 years ago, where you came in a little tired after a huge season. How does it feel to come in as the defending champ? Does it add to the pressure, or do you approach it in a different way?
The approach isn't too much different. Just trying not to come in comfortable at all. Just knowing that nothing's a done deal. So still coming in with hard training and a mindset that it's anybody's game on Saturday. But yeah, pressure, I guess it feels a little bit more pressure, but I try not to let it get to me too much. It's just another day of running. But yeah, there's maybe a little extra drive to try and defend, but like I said, it's anybody's race, and anything could happen, especially this year.
Cool. Well, you've had a great year. It seems like you started in about April, where you won the Madeira Ultra on the World Tour, and use that sort of as a springboard to then attack UTMB, which you did in August. How do you feel about your season, and are you excited to kind of step back down to some shorter distance racing this weekend?
I'm excited to get back to the 50-mile distance, especially here in Marin. I really like this course. They've changed it a little, but I really like these trails. The UTMB experience was really good. Just kind of tackling that new type of training and that new type of race. I'm looking forward to giving that another go at some point. But I'm excited to get back down to kind of a little more a race distance that's a bit more familiar to me. A race distance I really, really enjoy. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out on Saturday. But yeah, the season as a whole, I think it started off really well. Racing internationally and doing Madeira Island Ultra Trail, and then on to UTMB, where it was a really good experience. The first 100-miler is always kind of a wild ride. But it was good, and then just trying to learn the recovery process after that, trying to figure out how I trained for North Face coming off of a 100-miler, and then I guess I'm still pretty hungry. I feel like I want that one more punch for the season. It's been any year you can get at least one big ultra win, I think is really good. I managed to do that at Madeira. But to be honest, I would like one more punch before
Let's all just be honest
I go back
here,
into
shall we?
resting.
We want to ask you about the recovery process, like mind and body. At the finish line of UTMB, you were quite heartbroken. It was actually really hard for me to interview you that day. But then you wrote about your experience for this one website called I Run Far.
Yeah.
And your perspective kind of changed. You had grown from the just full-on disappointment with yourself to, I know there's a learning experience here. I still haven't figured out what it is, but I'm in the middle of that. Where are you at mentally because you just said, running 100 miles is always a mixed bag. Is that kind of where you're at now, that you can toss that into, I had to start somewhere with 100 miles?
Yeah, I think I knew all along that it was a learning experience, and that there was value in the experience that I had. But in the initial days and weeks and maybe even month after the race, it was that acknowledgement mixed with a whole lot of disappointment, and just trying to figure, because I'm just so ingrained in well, if you just like work hard enough, you can do it. But I got to a point in UTMB where it was almost like I want this so bad, but it just isn't going my way. So dealing with that is like very difficult. Yeah, I guess as time went on, it was like it was almost like it was this like grieving process. Like at first, like I was just like too like overwhelmed to like I could rationalize it and think of it in a positive light, but to actually like live that out was like difficult. I was just kind of like in this slump. And then as time went on and like there was more time between me and the race itself, it was like I was more and more okay. And then eventually the legs came back and the training came back, and then I was, you know, focused on North Face and able to kind of, you know, learn and think how I would strategize differently for next year, how I would train differently for next year. But yeah, so the mental was kind of the biggest thing, and then the physical was, it was just longer. It was, the soreness was less, but like the soreness was gone quicker, but the deep set fatigue, just feeling labored on runs. Usually for me that's gone like by the end of 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like train again, and I could like run something fast. This took about 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was till about the Bear 100.
Okay.
When I went out and paced Casey Lichtai out there, and I kind of ran it was like the day after the race. I went out for a run, and I was like, because I was talking to Casey, because she's obviously on a lot of hundreds, and she was like, well, one day it's just gonna all come back, like all of a sudden you'll just be like, okay, it's here. And
you're like, how much more?
Yeah, and then I went out the next day and I was like, well, it feels like it's back. Maybe it's because I was probably like 7,000 feet lower in elevation. But yeah, and that was about a month out, and that was kind of like where I was like, okay, I can start again.
Do a month block of prep for North Face.
Yeah, that was that was about a month out after the race. So I would have had about 2 months left, I think.
Got it.
So then I had been running all along, but that was when I kind of started my build for North Face.
Got it.
And even once I started it, it was different in the sense that I kind of felt like maybe when I did hard efforts, I didn't recover quite as quickly after them. And then little niggles here and there. Like normally I'm pretty niggle free in terms of, like an adductor hurting or a groin muscle or or like a calf or something like that. And so in the training block itself, I noticed like a few things here and there. Nothing ended up being too serious, but just like it just felt like my body was a little more fragile after 100 miles.
Okay.
So you just talked about your build up and your training block. I'm curious to know how the training looked in comparison to when you were building up for your first 100 miler at UTMB. Like, did you get back to doing some shorter distance, harder efforts?
Yeah, so the volume was still high, but probably not as high as for UTMB. Basically with UTMB, I let the volume, and there's like adventure days where I'm just out all day. I kind of let that go. I kind of like focused so much on that for UTMB that like instead of doing like my typical is like 2 hard workouts a week, in the UTMB stuff, there were probably some weeks where I only did like 1 or where I did 2, but like the quality was probably a bit less because like I just didn't have the pop in my legs. So for this one, I kind of went back to kind of my more usual 50-mile method. There were some long days, but there weren't like as many as in the 100 training. And then just kind of keeping things a little snappier and steadier.
So do you feel like you got that pop back a little bit in this training block?
Yeah, I think I mean, I change things time to time. I don't just do the same workouts all the time. But yeah, I think there was a lot of strength carried over from UTMB, and then I think I kind of brought a bit of that pep back.
Cool.
By cutting the volume back a little and maybe keeping some of my runs a little more focused.
Cool.
Is it fair to say that we don't need to even ask you what kind of strategy you're going to employ tomorrow. Are you just going to time trial it?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably pretty fair. I mean, yeah, I don't really seem to run any other way. I don't know. The dynamic of this year's race is interesting. It changed a bit when Walmsley decided to sit out, which I totally understand. I've done JFK, I've done North Face, and the 2 weeks in between is not a lot of recovery.
Not a lot of time.
Yeah, and I chatted with Walmsley last night, and it sounded like it was a smart decision. It would have been fun to have him out there on Saturday, but I totally understand the decision, and so it's changed a little bit since he's absent. But even without him, I mean, there's still there's still so many good guys and new faces and fresh young legs and guys with fast backgrounds.
Debo, do you kind of want to know from him
Well,
what
I
he was
think
going to do if Walmsley was here?
I think the world wants to know, the world demands to know what would have happened if you and Walmsley were on the start line. I think, honestly, there's a huge appetite, or people around the world were very excited and are still excited for the day where you guys line up on the same start line. Do you have an idea of how that would have played out?
No, I think it would have been a very painful day. I joked to people that the world was going to blow up. That once the gun went off, eventually the world was just going to explode. But no, I don't know. I think it's hard to kind of say how it would play out, but I just feel like it probably would have been a ferocious pace, and we would have just both ran until something snapped, and then either one of us would win, or somebody smart and level-headed like Alex Nichols would come in from behind and take the win. Which would be fine because we'd get a very exciting race, and somebody smart would take it. But I also it could have also been we hammered and then it got to a point where I couldn't hammer anymore and Walmsley goes off and wins, or it could go vice versa, whatever. I think I spent I spent a few days down at Flagstaff while Jim was running JFK. I thought I'd go steal his Strava record, but no, not at all. I'm not even on Strava. That was not my intent at all. I went down to visit.
The world is clicking on Samuel's Strava.
No, I have no Strava, and I'm not after Jim in any way like that. But it was just funny that I happened to be in Flagstaff when he was at JFK.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was down hanging with the Vargos, and when I got down there, I think I said to them one day, I was like, well, I kind of honestly think I'm just going to go absolutely as hard as I can, and I don't even care if I win. We're just going to go as hard as we possibly can, and if I want to win, and if I win, it's great, and if Jim wins, then he wins, and if we both break and someone else wins, well, then that'll be a cool day too.
Yeah.
So
you brought up JFK and his performance there. I was curious to hear your perspective on his race there, because you are obviously a past champion at that race.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost your coming out party to the ultra world.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on that performance? It seemed like just an otherworldly type day.
Oh, I saw him last night, and I congratulated him on his performance. I'd been there, I know the course, and it's super impressive what he did. I think Jim can probably go faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a couple other guys who could go similar times. I think Max's record was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's, people will call it crazy, but I would love to see someone someday flirt with the 5-hour mark at JFK. Just because if you got all the top guys there that are good on that type of terrain all at once. I know that sounds nuts. It's another 21 minutes,
mm-hmm.
but it would be. Poozy ran 4:57 yesterday on a
Yeah.
treadmill.
Yeah.
You know, so like that sub 5 hour 50 mile time is doable. It's challenging at JFK because you have that AT section at slow.
Right.
I think that's one of the most impressive parts of, well, maybe not, but that's one of the impressive parts of Jim's performance there was how fast he came off the AT.
Right.
Because it takes, I've been there, and I remember when I ran, I was about 4 minutes off of Max's course record, and I think I came off the AT about 4 minutes off of his time off the AT. So basically,
So you're
Max
about
and I
even.
ran the same pace on the towpath and the road, and Max ran faster on the AT. Where Jim came off the AT like 10 minutes ahead of course record pace.
Wow.
So he was going right from the beginning, and that's a heck of a way to do it. And that's also just, I know the terrain up there. It's pretty rocky, so it was impressive that he could chop that much off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a really impressive performance, and I wouldn't doubt that he or someone else goes faster at some point, just because the sport develops.
Sure.
So tomorrow, we're not going to have Walmsley on the line. We're going to have you
Yeah.
probably shooting off. I think there are a couple guys who are going to go with you, though.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, there's some guys out there with raw leg speed that it's going to feel super easy.
Oh,
They
yeah,
may
for
not have
sure.
raced 50 miles before.
For sure.
Or they've only done it once or twice. But they just have the raw leg speed that it's going to feel easy.
Yeah.
How do you expect things are going to go, like, first half of the race tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, for me personally, it's a question of what kind of pace do I want to go out at the beginning. If someone goes out and really hammers, do I want to go out with that? Do I want? I mean, I think just kind of try and feel it out within myself and try and stay up there at the front. Last year it was Ryan Bach and Tyler Siegel came along, and we all rolled for about 20 miles together. But no, I don't discount anyone. I mean, I don't say, oh, you've never run 50 miles, you couldn't win this race, because that was me at JFK. You know?
I mean, somebody's going to stick it, and whether
Right.
it's
Yeah.
win or third place or fourth place tomorrow, someone will stick it.
Yeah, I think there's some really good talent in here. I think it's an interesting dynamic. In the past, when I've had really good races, I've noticed that the break just kind of happens naturally. It's just kind of eventually it just starts to the field starts to break apart naturally. It's not like I get to a certain climb. It's like, okay, I'm going to drop a hammer here and try and get away. It's more like, okay, I'm just going to run comfortably and then see if naturally that ends up separating things.
Got it.
So that's kind of probably going to be my mindset for tomorrow. And then, yeah, I mean, I expect there'll be guys that will go, that will, I don't expect to really just be alone. I think you've got guys in there, you've got new faces like Cody Reed and Hayden Hawks. And then you've got veteran guys like Sage and Alex Nichols, and Miguel Aris and Demetrius from Greece. And it makes for a very interesting dynamic because a guy like Alex Nichols is likely, given his style, I mean, who knows, maybe he'll sprint off the line, but he's likely to lay low, for a while. Possibly Sage too, but Sage could go either way. He can go out hard too.
Yeah, 2 years ago, he kind of employed your strategy.
Yeah.
He held back a little bit at the beginning, but then he made his break.
Yeah,
maybe
cardiac,
15
I think.
miles
Going
in.
up cardiac, yeah. So yeah, it's just a whole slew of dynamics, and I just think it'll make for an interesting race. And really, Sage and I haven't raced since, I think, maybe Templier. When before then we raced, I guess, at Sonoma, and then we raced at Templier, and then since then we've just been doing different things.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've really gotten on a start line with Sage, and so I think Sage ran really well at Moab the other weekend, and I think he's got a lot of talent, and you know, he like anyone, there's nobody to discount by any means. There could be somebody we didn't even put in the preview.
Yeah, totally.
Just some total dark horse.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Well, good luck on Saturday. Tomorrow, I guess. You're obviously always a fan favorite, and I think everybody really enjoys watching you race. So put on a good show for us.
All right, I hope to.
Good
It's all
luck.
about the entertainment value.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, well, I like that.
it should be a great race. So
All right.
good luck.
All right.
Good
Well,
luck,
thank you.
Zach.
Thank you.